Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of Philippians. We're still looking at Philippians chapter 1. Today we're looking at the next section, which is verses 12 through 26. Now, so far in the book, Paul has greeted the Philippian believers, and he has told them that he is praying for them. And now as we begin verse 12, he wants to answer questions about their concern for him. Paul realizes that the Philippians are concerned about his welfare because, as he's already told us in the letter, when he writes this epistle, Paul is in prison in Rome, awaiting trial before Caesar. The Philippians, of course, know this, and they're concerned about him. They're worried about him, how he's doing, how his emotional state is, his welfare. And so in this section, he begins to talk about that and to assure them that he is all right. Notice what he says. Begin at verse 12. Now I want you to know, my brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me, and of course what has happened to him was he was arrested in Jerusalem, kept in prison there for 2 years under the Roman governors Felix and Festus, and then of course he appealed his trial to Caesar, was sent to Rome, and now he's in prison in Rome awaiting his trial. She said, I want you to know that what has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel. Now, most people would consider what had occurred a disaster. Paul has already spent 2 years in Judea in prison, and now he's in Rome in prison for he doesn't know how long. He's going to stand trial before Nero. No one knows how that's going to turn out. But yet he says all this has actually served to advance the gospel. How? Well, he tells them. As a result, that is, of my imprisonment, especially my being imprisoned here in Rome, as a result, it has become clear throughout the whole palace guard and to everyone else that I am in chains for Jesus Christ. And because of these chains, most of the brothers and sisters have become more confident in the Lord and dare all the more to proclaim the gospel without fear. How is it that Paul, being in prison, could advance the gospel? Well, he tells them. He says, everyone has heard that I am in prison here because I preached the good news of Jesus. Even the whole palace guard, those who are authorized to keep me prisoners, those who are watching me, those who are keeping me in chains, my guards, they know that I am here because of the gospel of Jesus Christ. That has given them an interest in the gospel. It gives me a chance to tell the gospel even to my prison guards. You see, Paul is saying, the gospel itself has reached to the very palace of Caesar. Yes, I'm a prisoner in that palace, but still the gospel is here, and the guards are hearing about Jesus Christ. You know, when someone is standing guard over Paul, he gets a chance to talk to them and tell them about the Lord. So, while most folks would consider imprisonment to be a terrible disaster, I've lost my freedom, I've lost my ability to roam, I've lost my ability to go and share the gospel. Paul says, no, I just have a new place to share it in. The gospel has been advanced even by my imprisonment because I can share it with the palace guard. But there's more, says Paul. The brothers and sisters who are on the outside, they have seen my faithfulness. They've seen that I stay faithful to the Lord even in prison, and that emboldens them. And so our brothers and sisters throughout the world are more energetically proclaiming the gospel of Jesus. And I'm glad of that. Now, Paul is not saying he would not rather be free than in prison. Of course he would. But he recognizes that God uses every circumstance to advance his kingdom. And even my being in prison, even my being in chains, God has somehow used to advance his gospel. So don't worry about me. Don't be concerned about me. I'm okay. And I'm still getting to proclaim the gospel. In a different place, yes, but I'm still proclaiming the good news of Jesus. I think this is what Paul meant when he wrote his letter to the Romans in chapter 8, verse 28. Remember, he said, we know that in all things God works for good for those who love him. Paul never said all things were good, but he said God works in all things for good. And even though my being placed unfairly in prison is not in and of itself a good thing, Paul said, God has used it for good, and I'm still able to proclaim the gospel, and the gospel is being advanced even by my imprisonment. So Paul is saying to the Philippians, don't be worried about me. I'm still preaching the good news of Jesus, you do the same. What a wonderful testimony. Join us tomorrow. We'll continue looking at this section. Paul has some more to say about this. That'll be for our next 5-minute Bible study in the book of Philippians. You join us.